Hi, good evening. Thank you so much to George and to Minnie for organizing this and giving me the opportunity to speak here. I'm extremely nervous, as all of y'all can see. So most of y'all would know me as the dog mom, the Rottweiler mother. But what most of y'all also don't know is that my first love was horses. And that first love happened when I was 11 years old. I was on a holiday with my family. And we went on a joyride, and I ended up sitting on a pony for the first time in my life. And it was a match made in heaven. For me, horses were my everything. And so at 11 years old, I started competing. And for me, that was my life's path. I wanted to go on to represent my country. I wanted to go to the Asian Games. I wanted to go to the Olympics. I had great dreams with respect to horses. But above all of that, we always say, right, you love the animal, not the sport. For me, it was a soul connection with the animal. And in 2012, after I had spent 11 odd years of my life, 12 years of my life, with one animal in one sport, not really concentrating on education, not concentrating on having a career anywhere else, in 2012, I crashed my car. Possibly playing one of the most risky sports in the world, I ended up crashing my car to an extent where I broke my neck and I broke my C3 vertebrae. And I had to have facial reconstructive surgery. I was bleeding in the brain. I broke my shoulder. I broke about 3-4 ribs. My car was totaled. It was not exactly pretty. And I was told at that point of time that going back to horse riding would have been extremely risky for me because one more fall. Have any of you all seen $1 Million Baby? Okay, so that's what I broke. And so I was told that one more fall, one wrong fall, landing at the wrong angle, and that would be my fate. So I had to look back and walk away from something I had prepared my entire formative years as my career, as my passion, as my everything. And I didn't really have the time at that point of time to worry too much about it because what ended up happening about 3 weeks after I had the accident, I was put on some medications. I'm so sorry, that light is very, can I get here? Yeah, okay. Thank you. That light was really bright in my face. And so are these, okay? I think I'm going to come this side. So what ended up happening was I was given a medication to stop the bleeding in my brain or to stop me from having seizures. I don't know. Thanks, Neil. And that medication, I ended up having an allergic reaction to that medication. And that reaction is called Stevens-Johnson syndrome. It's extremely obscure, 1 in a million, had to happen to me. But it basically mimics third-degree burns. And 80% of my body was covered with third-degree burns. I was in the isolation ward of the burn unit. The doctors didn't know if I was going to survive for about 4 days because I wasn't responding to medication. And so that effectively put an end to whatever hope I possibly had to going back to doing what my passion was. It effectively put an end to it. And endurance is something that we all grew up with, especially in sports. Sports people over here, I think you all know better than anyone else. You're taught to endure. You're taught that endurance is a badge of honor to wear. And I didn't take the time at that point to even acknowledge the fact that I was going through some severe, very, very severe PTSD. And when I came out of hospital, I wasn't happy, I wasn't sad, I didn't enjoy life. It was like I was watching a very boring movie and I wasn't engaged in it at all. And I couldn't understand what was happening to me because also talking about mental health wasn't really a big thing back then. But I went through very, very severe PTSD, which I didn't know. And I always say this, in life you come to crossroads, and you can choose which path you want to take over there. And for me, I think if this particular thing, what I'm going to talk about next, hadn't happened for me, I think I would have gone down a very, very dark path. I knew I never wanted to be in corporate. I knew I never wanted to do a corporate job. I follow my heart. And the next thing for me was, because of my mom being in animal welfare, it was the next thing I wanted to do. I wanted to work with dogs, because that's the second closest thing for me to being my soul animal. And I remember in 2012, I got a call on Feb 25th about a Rottweiler, the second Bangalore has seen, who was locked up in a bathroom in a factory. And I went there at 9:30 at night with 3 men, by the way, who I did not know. They were the laborers over there. I went, I saw this Rottweiler sitting in this bathroom. He was growling, and I don't know what happened at that point in time. I just decided, okay, I'm going to take him back home. And so the next morning I went, picked him up, brought him home. That dog did not connect with me for months. I spent months just feeding him, taking him out, and just hoping there would be some sort of progress with him. But here's the thing that I didn't realize was happening in the background. I started looking forward to getting up every day, which I hadn't felt in a very long time, because I started looking forward to seeing if I could get him to maybe wag his tail once at me, or maybe just come up to me, or just do something to give me like some sort of a thing that what I was doing was working, and I didn't know what I was doing at that point. Cut to about 3 months later, after Diego came home. I named him Diego. My parents had gone out, I was alone at home, and he came up to me and he put his head into my lap, and he started growling. And that growl went into a snarl. And I was like, I'm dead. This is a 45 kg animal who's sitting in my lap. I have nowhere to go, there's no help at home. I am dead. And then I noticed he had a docked tail, so they cut the tail of the dogs. He had a docked tail, and I noticed his tail was wagging at like 100 kilometers an hour, and I was like, hey, okay, is this dog happy? And that's when I was introduced to the Rotti Rumble. So Diego is a Rottweiler, right? So Rotties have something called the Rotti Rumble. And that's what Diego was doing. And that dog saved my life. I don't think I would be here today if it wasn't for him. He gave me a purpose. He gave me a path to follow. And that's when I realized that in Bangalore, these breeds are so misunderstood. I don't know, okay, how many of you all, show of hands, think Rottweilers are aggressive? Inherently. German Shepherds, Dogo Argentinos, Pit Bulls, killer dogs, gonna maul you to death, right? Unfortunately, that's the perception that most of Bangalore had, most of the welfare circle also had at that point of time, and there wasn't a single organization in the country that did what we call rehabilitation, which is to take these dogs and understand that maybe there is an issue that they're facing and help them work through it, very much like you help work a human through it. And that was how Second Chance Sanctuary was born. It was, again, a journey of a lot of endurance, a lot of resilience, again, something I wore like a badge of honor. And here's the funny part, though. We don't, animal welfare, the animal welfare circle and the animal welfare world, I'm sure most of you all think about it as something that's very, the shelters are dingy, the animals are sickly, they don't look good, it's not happy, they're not adoptable, it's a very pity sells mentality. And a lot of people use that to drive even getting in donations. And so I became very, very aware of the fact that that's not what I wanted to sell. I didn't want to sell pity. These dogs don't deserve to be pitied. They deserve second chances. And as a result of that, we stopped talking about the difficulties that came along with it. So we stopped talking about, and it's not something that I even to a large extent, my co-trustees over here have to sit and remind me repeatedly that, you know what, it's okay to actually say that it costs you something to be doing this. And that cost might not be what we're putting up on social media. It might not be showing up on stage somewhere, but there is a cost that we're paying every single day. It's the late nights, it's the calls that we get, it's the dogs that we cannot help. It's having to take a call that this dog gets to live, that dog doesn't get to live. This dog has to die because we don't have the funds to do it. It is those costs every single day that we live with, and we have to kind of deal with. But again, this is not something I talk about very often, because on my social media, what I want people to see is the good parts of it. Because one thing is that while there is a silent cost to all of this, and it's cost me relationships, it's cost me time with my son. I have a 9-year-old son. It's sometimes cost me a lot of time with him. It's cost me a lot of my relationships, because a lot of people don't understand what I do and why I do what I do. But at the end of the day, when I was introduced They introduced Second Chance Sanctuary, saying that this is the name of the organization. People think that I named the organization Second Chance Sanctuary because it meant giving the animals a second chance. It really wasn't. It was about my second chance. And this resilience is what's gotten me to where I am today. Thank you.